Let us set the stage for this breaking news moment by looking at the absolute whirlwind that is Josslyn Jax's life right now. Josslyn has just survived the literal nightmare of a lifetime. She was held hostage at Windermere. She went toe-to-toe with the ruthless WSB double agent Ross Cullum, and she had to broker a highly secretive, dangerous deal with WSB head Z just to secure the freedom of Jason Morgan and Valentine Cassidy. The girl has been through a psychological and physical war zone, but just when she thought she could finally take a breath, step back, and figure out her future away from the WSB's grasp, a massive bombshell drops right into her lap. Jax, her father, has seemingly vanished into thin air, leaving behind a shocking directive naming Josslyn as the brand new CEO of his massive global corporate empire. Immediately, the rumor mill in Port Charles went into absolute overdrive. People were whispering in the corridors of the Metro Court that Jax must be in grave danger. Some folks even speculated that he was kidnapped, harmed, or worse, and that someone sinister was manipulating his company from the shadows. The sudden arrival of a mysterious new executive only fueled these dark rumors. But a new detail could expose the truth, and it completely flips the script on this entire narrative. Jax isn't a victim of foul play. If you ask me, Jax is doing exactly what Jax does best when the world gets too complicated. He is sailing. He is out on the open ocean, traveling the globe on his luxury yacht, completely off the grid and away from the drama of Port Charles. This brings us to the most crucial piece of the puzzle, the clue that breaks this entire mystery wide open. Enter Hudson, the mysterious business executive who recently arrived in town. On paper, Hudson is the vice president of Jax's company. He is the guy who has been running the day-to-day operations, negotiating the big international deals, and keeping the corporate empire afloat while Jax is out living his best life on the high seas. So, why on earth is Hudson in Port Charles hand-delivering a message that a young woman with zero corporate experience is suddenly his boss? That is exactly where things become interesting. If you watch Hudson closely, his behavior is a massive, glaring clue. A normal vice president would be absolutely furious at this nepotism. They would be calling their corporate lawyers, staging a boardroom coup, or at least throwing a massive tantrum about being passed over for a 20-something kid. But Hudson isn't doing any of that. Instead, he is watching Josslyn. He is studying her every single move, analyzing her reactions, and looking at her with a highly specific mix of intense curiosity and deep, buried resentment. He isn't acting like a disgruntled employee. He is acting like a man with a deeply personal vendetta. Let us start connecting the dots here, guys, because this is where the picture gets incredibly clear. If Jax is simply on a sailboat in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by nothing but ocean waves and terrible cell reception, it perfectly explains the complete radio silence. It explains why Josslyn hasn't been able to reach him for weeks. It completely debunks the wild theory that Hudson came to town because he did something sinister to Jax. Hudson didn't kidnap or harm his boss. Hudson is merely the messenger, but his message is wrapped in a deeply personal, hidden agenda that has absolutely nothing to do with corporate profits or stock prices. Furthermore, we have to look at Hudson's other activities in town. We know from our sources that Hudson's arrival caused Ethan Lovett to absolutely panic and flee Port Charles. Hudson is looking for someone specific, potentially Ethan, or perhaps a woman named Delilah Wilson. What if Delilah Wilson is Hudson's mother? What if Ethan knows the dark secret of Hudson's parentage? If this detail is true, it explains why Hudson is so fixated on Josslyn's character rather than her business acumen. He isn't here to evaluate if she can read a balance sheet. He is here to evaluate her soul. He wants to see what kind of person Jasper Jax raised. He wants to know if Jax treats this golden child, this beloved daughter, with the love, respect, and devotion that was completely absent from his own life. It may not be a coincidence that Hudson chose this exact moment to step out of the corporate shadows and into Josslyn's direct line of sight. He is investigating the family he was never allowed to be a part of. This leads us to the big reveal theory, the massive secret that is going to shake the Jax family legacy to its very core. Sometime very soon, Josslyn is going to get a signal through. She is going to manage to contact Jax on a secure satellite phone, pushing through the static of the open ocean, and she is going to demand answers. She will ask him why he made her CEO, but more importantly, she is going to ask him about the mysterious, brooding vice president named Hudson. And that is when Jax is going to have to confess the ultimate heartbreaking truth. Hudson isn't just his vice president. Hudson is his secret son. Hudson is Josslyn's older half-brother. Just let that sink in for a moment. A secret son. We all know Jax has a long, complicated history of sweeping romances, broken hearts, and leaving a trail of tears across the globe. From Brenda Barrett to Carly Spencer to Nina Reeves, Jax has never been great at long-term stability. But this is entirely different. The bigger question is, why has this been kept a secret for so long? Why doesn't Hudson carry the prestigious Jax name? Why is he hiding in plain sight within his own biological father's company, acting as a subordinate rather than an heir? If you ask me, the answer lies in a deeply painful, unresolved past. Jax didn't just have a brief, meaningless fling with Hudson's mother. He broke her in a way that left a permanent, devastating scar. There may be more to this story than just a standard secret child trope. I believe that Jax caused Hudson's mother an unimaginable amount of pain. Perhaps he abandoned her when she needed him most, or perhaps his ruthless corporate ambitions destroyed her life and her reputation. Whatever the specific details are, the trauma was so severe that Hudson grew up utterly despising the man who gave him life. Hudson harbors a resentment so incredibly deep that he absolutely refuses to claim Jax as his father. He took a job at Jax's company not to bond with his estranged dad, but to infiltrate the empire. He wanted to prove that he could conquer the corporate world on his own merits, with his own brilliant mind, without ever relying on the tainted, wealthy Jax name. He wants to stand at the top of the mountain and look down at Jax, knowing he achieved it all despite the abandonment he suffered as a child. This could explain a lot about Hudson's current mission in Port Charles. He came to town to deliver the CEO news to Josslyn, yes, but his real objective was a psychological reconnaissance mission. He wanted to look Josslyn in the eye and see if she was a spoiled, entitled brat who blindly benefited from the father he never had. He wanted to see if Jax treated Josslyn as terribly as he treated Hudson's mother, or if Jax saved all his love and affection for his real family. Hudson is actively looking for a reason to hate Josslyn, desperately wanting to project all his lifelong anger and abandonment issues onto her. But what happens when this theory proves true? Let us talk about the emotional aftermath. When Josslyn hears this confession from Jax's own mouth through that crackling satellite phone, her entire perception of her father is going to shatter into a million pieces. Josslyn has always put Jax on a pedestal. Even when he made mistakes, even when he clashed with Sunny or Carly, he was always her loving, devoted, protective dad. To realize that he callously abandoned another child, that he caused such profound suffering to Hudson and his mother, is going to completely devastate her worldview. Who stands to lose everything here? Jax stands to lose the immense, unwavering respect of his daughter. But who benefits? That is where Josslyn's true character is going to shine brighter than ever. Hudson came to Port Charles expecting to find a villain in Josslyn, a spoiled heiress he could easily despise. Instead, he is going to find a fiercely loyal, incredibly empathetic young woman who has zero tolerance for injustice and lies. Josslyn is not going to fight Hudson for the CEO chair. She doesn't even want a corporate life. She just spent months fighting the WSB and dealing with life or death situations. I fully believe that in the aftermath of this massive revelation, Josslyn is going to make a shocking, unprecedented move. She is going to step down from the CEO position that Jax just handed her. She will sit across the boardroom table from her newly discovered half-brother, look him in the eye, and officially propose that Hudson take over as the CEO of the company. It won't just be a business transaction. It will be a deeply emotional olive branch. It will be Josslyn's way of trying to make amends for the sins of their father, a desperate attempt to balance the cosmic scales of their family's karma. By offering Hudson the throne of Jax's empire, Josslyn is validating his pain. She is telling him that he matters, that he is a true, equal part of the family. and that he does not have to hide in the shadows of the vice president title anymore. It is a powerful, selfless gesture that will likely break through Hudson's tough, resentful exterior. He came to town looking for an enemy, but he is going to leave with a sister who truly understands him and is willing to sacrifice her own inherited power to help him heal from decades of trauma. Guys, we may be looking at the beginning of something huge. The entire dynamic of the Jax family is about to be rewritten in the most dramatic way possible. The truth could be closer than anyone realizes. And when that satellite phone finally connects, the fallout is going to be absolutely spectacular. Someone may not be ready for what's coming next, whether it is Jax facing the long-delayed consequences of his past, or Hudson realizing he isn't alone in the world anymore. Keep your eyes peeled, because this secret sibling storyline is about to take Port Charles by storm. Let me know in the comments if you think Hudson will accept Josslyn's offer, and I will see you in the next video.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.